So for 22 years, I've always had a second job. I either worked at a movie theater for a little while. I've worked at Paula's Hot Biscuit for like 16 years. I work at IGA now. I worked at Aldi. Even during the school year, I work for an online school, and I teach 2 different classes through that school, both semesters. I work at Campbellsville University. I have a lot of jobs.
Tomorrow's economy begins with public education. In Kentucky, that future is in a precarious position. An unprecedented teacher shortage has been unfolding statewide over the last decade, leading to the crisis now at hand. Join us as we ask the question, why are Kentucky's public schools in crisis? And then look at potential solutions from those who know it best, the superintendents, principals, and teachers who serve in the profession day in and day out.
Being a superintendent in 2023 is a bit like nothing I've ever imagined. Somebody once told me when I got this job, it's the toughest job in any community across the state. And the reason why is because you're not going to make everybody happy. And you also, through schools, employees, students, guardians, grandparents, aunts, uncles, taxpayers, you touch every part of a community. Whether a community member has no part of the school at all, they could live next to a school and be affected by the traffic, or they pay school taxes.
Being a principal in 2023, it's tough. All of the students in this building I consider my kids. You know, I have 2 children of my own at home and love them dearly, but when I come to school, I refer to our students as my kids. And there are definitely nights that I go home and lose sleep over my kids, other people's children, but my students. It is tiring. It's tough.
Being a teacher today feels really thankless. There's a lot of criticism out there. There's a lot of armchair quarterbacks that think that they know what our job is like when they really don't. This job is really hard. And I know that by the end of the year, I will have my students in the palm of my hand. I know that. Okay? Because I have enough confidence in myself as a teacher. I have enough experience to know that I just have to keep chipping away, and I'll get them. But a brand new teacher, they don't have that perspective. They don't. And it's very hard, very, very hard to talk them into going back into the classroom the next day when they've had a particularly bad day. And I know that from personal experience. I know that from experience of having one in my house.
One problem facing school districts is the shortage of teachers applying for open positions. Compounding the problem is the amount of teachers retiring from the profession every year. Simply put, there's not enough people to fill the positions. And for those who haven't quit or retired, they struggle to have the resources they need to educate the children of Kentucky.
In 2005, I transitioned out of the military, and I can tell you, education was a lot different back then than it is today. And staffing and staffing shortages, everybody talks about the staffing shortages they have in different workforces. Well, education is real as well. When I got out of the military and jumped into the world of education, for every elementary vacancy, there was probably 40 to 60 applicants. I applied probably about 40 different positions. I got 2 interviews. I got the second job here in Christian County. So it's very competitive in 2005. Now for elementary applicants in 2023, a good application pool would be about 10 applicants with certification. So you see the drastic change. And then as you progress through the high school and the middle school and high school, those applicant numbers drop. Even with the math, science, and special ed, the chemistry, the physics, the higher math, it's really hard to find good applicants that have a certification. We make it work, we do the best we can, but we have to adapt over the last 5 years and do something strategically different.
Throughout my time in education, I've kind of seen both sides of things. It used to be, in my days as an assistant principal, we'd have a job opening, we would post it. We would have multiple applicants for every job posting that we had. We would review resumes. We'd call in who we felt like had, a quality resume. We would interview those people and pick the best of the best. and times have changed. Sometimes we refer to ourselves as Coach Calipari because we have to go out and recruit these days. Unfortunately, sometimes we recruit from local schools and try to steal who we feel like is a best fit for us. Just this year, we're going to start our school year with 9 new faces in our building, and it seems like it's becoming kind of Groundhog's Day every summer. You're losing some of your veteran staff to retirement, and you're running into positions that you have 0 applicants for. So you're doing your best to make connections in the community and say, hey, there's a really good person. Let's try to pull them into our school and teach them how to teach and develop a love for teaching to try to get them into the profession.
A lot of young teachers are not staying in the profession because they feel unbearably burdened by the fact that they have this much work to do and they're getting paid this much to do it. And that's not fair. It's not fair. And if we don't somehow raise the bar on what our teachers are being paid, then we're going to lose out. Our young people are not coming back. They don't come back to LaRue County. They don't come back to their small towns. They don't go into teaching.
I'm in the trenches every day along with our teachers and our staff, and I see the positive things that go on a daily basis in our school. Our teachers, they face so many challenges. They're not just teachers. They do not just come in and teach content. They're forced to be counselors. They're forced to, no matter what happens in their classroom on a daily basis, whether it's a medical emergency or a counseling emergency, they have to know how to handle that and handle it right. And if they don't handle it the right way, then they're at risk of being in the public eye on social media, of our schools being bashed, and they go home and scroll through their Facebook page, and our school or their classroom is being bashed because of something that the general public deems wasn't handled appropriately. And that's tough. That weighs on our teachers' minds.
I mean, if you look around even this classroom, there's a pile of books on that table over there that are obviously 25 years old. Used and used and used and used and used again. There are desks in here that are falling apart. If I turned them up, you would see where they've been rebolted and rebolted. And I know that's not the most, attractive thing to talk about, but it's very real. Like, I need a place for kids to sit in this room. I need books to teach them with. I need resources.
Today, sometimes the schools have responsibilities to provide food, nutrition, health care, mental health, guidance, counseling, co-curricular, extracurricular, keep our students busy, provide them jobs, post-graduation, coordination, achievement, education. And then when there's accountability involved with the parents, then we get blamed for it.
Making matters worse, teachers are leaving the profession early in large part due to not being able to afford the increase in cost of living with their outpaced compensation. It is not uncommon for teachers to work multiple jobs to support themselves as an individual or in caring for a family.
So for 22 years, I've always had a second job. I either worked at a movie theater for a little while. I've worked at Paula's Hot Biscuit for like 16 years. I work at IGA now. I worked at Aldi. Even during the school year, I work for an online school, and I teach 2 different classes through that school, both semesters. I work at Campbellsville University. I have a lot of jobs. It all really comes down to money. It just comes down to money. I need the money. I make enough money to pay my bills. I want my kid to do marching band, which costs me hundreds of dollars. Becoming a teacher wasn't free. The raises every year, like $90. What would $90 in a year do for you? $110. Tell me what $110 is doing for you across 12 months, across 12 paychecks. How much even is it? By the time whatever else gets taken out, I should not have to work 4 jobs. And my students are always blown away when they find out that I work 4 jobs. And they're like, why? I thought this was a good living. It should be.
Every one of our seniors that graduates does a presentation at the end of their senior year. And part of that presentation is talking about their next steps and what their plans are, making sure that they have a plan for their future. And very, very few, if any, of our seniors over the last several years mentioned that they want to go into education. And that's troubling. That's tough. They want to enter a career field that is going to support them and their family financially. And with teachers coming in making mid to high $30,000, they're like, well, that's not anything that interests me right now. I want to go into the healthcare field. I want to go into the engineering field. I want to be a doctor. I want to start my own business. I want to go straight to a trade. And all of those things seem more lucrative, more intriguing to our students that are graduating than entering education. And I believe that part of that, if not most of that, deals with the money that they know that they can make other places, not in education.
An unmarried 26-year-old teacher cannot make enough money to rent a one-bedroom apartment? That is outrageous to me. So you've got 25, 26-year-old teachers in their first few years of their career living with mom and dad. No, it isn't that they want to. They have to. They don't have a choice. And sometimes the only way those things can be addressed is through legislative action. We need a minimum pay that is across the state. Every single district should be paying beginning teachers this much money, period. And then they need a funding mechanism for it. So I'm not the person to make that happen because I'm not a legislator, but I'm telling you that it needs to happen. That cartoon that it's old, it's been around forever, of the parent in the doorway saying, all right, this is it now, last call, if you don't get up, you're gonna be late for school, you have to go. And then when it pans to the next panel, it's a teacher that's in the bed. That's so real. That is so real that every time I see that cartoon shared, I can feel it, like viscerally.
The real question to ask is, where do we go from here? What are solutions to the problems those in the education profession face? The answers will determine the very fate of the future of Kentucky and its economy.
I would ask that our legislators kind of adapt with us. We're having to adapt to the shortage hires, to the inflation, to the building supply problems and the capital outlay problems we're having, the mental health, the SROs, and they are seeing some of those things in the adaptation and the evolution of the last 5 years, but it needs to be quicker.
We have to make being a teacher a sustainable thing. We have to get these programs full again, and we have to train new teachers to take over in our schools because our teacher population is aging, and they're aging out, and there's nobody to replace them. We absolutely have to change the way that the funding mechanism is figured for the districts. We have to make that more equitable, especially for poor districts. And districts that don't have the property tax valuation just cannot compete. And they can't get teachers. They can't get teachers because if you can teach one county over where there's a city that has a little bit more money or a bigger town or whatever that's taking in more in property taxes and make $3,000 or $4,000 more a year, why? Why would you teach in LaRue County if you can get a job in Hardin? Why would you teach in Hart County if you could get a job in Hardin or Barron? We have to think about that because we have to make teaching a sustainable career for any person in every county.
And then again, trust the superintendents that we're not just lobbying because we can't do it, we're lobbying because we do it the right way. And we want to adapt to what we're dealing with in the classrooms. They have to look from our perspective through us down into the classrooms where the teacher and the classroom student are interacting and what the barriers are. And right now those are the barriers, social media, mental health, teacher shortage, safety. I mean, we're dealing with a lot of different variables that no one's ever dealt with when they were in school before. We got to get back to the face-to-face conversations and the professional conversations and the problem solving, not the finger pointing. So being a school superintendent is like being a CEO of a very large corporation and having a board of directors, but it's a public corporation and everybody has a say. And you have to answer to everybody because tax dollars are at stake.
While there are significant challenges with needed solutions, there is hope. Hope for the profession that has shaped people in Kentucky, from linemen to small business owners, farmers to politicians, doctors to teachers. At the end of the day, while tomorrow's economy starts here, the real investment is in the future of Kentucky, its children.
What gives me hope moving forward is the type of people that I get to work with on a daily basis. The people who are in front of my kids, of your kids, are good people. They are here for the right reasons. They are here because they want to teach our young people. They're here because they want to be a positive role model. And I see that. I see it because our students will graduate and they want to come back. Our students will graduate and they're in for fall break or spring break from college, and they stop by and they want to see the teachers that they had while they were in high school. They just want to stop by and say thank you.
I think public education in Kentucky symbolizes real life for our children, our students. And I enjoy the real life. It's fast-paced. It's got its good and its bad. It's highs and its lows. It's emotion. It's relationships. And it's kind of a lot kind of what I enjoy. I love the dynamics of the 187 days kids are in session in the school system. When you're talking about human beings and public education and what you're taking them from kindergarten to transitioning from high school, I think you're taking a child in its early infant stage to development into your workforce or to military or to wherever. It's life changing, it's life altering. So I think it's real life, and I'm proud to be a part of it and lucky to be a part of it.
So I have hope moving forward because I do think people are listening. I do think that there's momentum from the state, from the people who are decision makers, who know that our teachers deserve more. And you know, I'm here to back our teachers and our educators in any way that I can.
I've got 5 more years, and I will do them, and I will do them happily. Because I do love my job. I love my job. But there's also a comfort level that I've gotten to in my job that takes years to happen. And this younger generation of teachers, they don't see the benefit because they can't sustain the life.